Yeah, when I plugged it in, the light came on and I clicked the button and the light went out. So you should have full functionality on the transmission now.
Let's see.
You'll have to drive it.
It will make a... Okay, let's see here. Let me get this up.
And I are doubling down.
30 seconds.
It is not the intent, but it is the commitment. The commitment that we bring a bill that is better than what was presented. If you do not vote for this bill today, and you've all said that you care about 16 and 17-year-olds, if you do not vote for this today, what you said that you cared about 16 and 17-year-olds was a lie.
Finally, the Democrats are doubling down on supporting kids, especially kids who are sex trafficked. I think Scott Wiener and the LGBTQ caucus has a big problem. Here he is on Shannon Grove's bill SB 311, which is trying to keep men out of the women's prisons. Why we're even at this point, why we're even talking about this, this should be another 111% to negative 11% issue. Here we go.
All of us, back to when we were children, when you learn about prisons, one of the things that you know as a kid, particularly in men's prisons, is that people were getting raped.
So what do you think, ding dong wiener's going to happen when you put, that's with men in men's prisons. What do you think's going to happen with men in women's prisons? You complete freaking idiot. We're going to get killed on the bullet train. Now that we passed, gazillion dollars worth of bonds, we're going to pay for interest. Now we're going to get private financing. And, we're going to pay interest on top of interest of this. This thing is going to cost trillions by the time we're done. Here's our latest proposal on ABC 7 San Fran.
California's high-speed rail project, Ian Chowdhury's funding plan, would commit the state to paying back private investors, possibly with interest, to give the state more time to cover the cost. Chowdhury worked on high-speed rail projects in Europe and believes connecting San Francisco to Los Angeles via the Central Valley is well worth it.
Holy cow. That's what it was first supposed to do, was go from LA to San Francisco. Straight on. No nothing. Not this veer, not taking 16 hours, supposed to take 2 hours. Be done in 5 years, $20 billion, high tech, we know what we're doing, 5th or 4th largest economy, all that. Democrats are smarter. Left-wing loon Democrats are smarter than anybody on the planet, and here we are in the hole, no track, 20 years later, and they want more of your money. It's insane. Homes overrun by squatters. This is absolutely incredible, and it's got to stop. Why LAPD is not responding, I don't know, but that's a big question that should be answered.
Drug activity, a lot of criminal activity, and it's very dangerous.
Jean Rice and her neighbors live in this building in between 2 vacant buildings and this residential hotel, and say there is a constant stream of transients who have overtaken the neighborhood. They walk around unclothed, and even when police come out, nothing changes. This woman telling us she sees it all from her second-floor unit, where you can see the remains of several fires started allegedly by the transients.
Not only drugs, guns, there were snuff films, all these windows.
Okay, for crying out loud. We got vagrants, not transients, vagrants, burning things down, making life irresistible, walking around in public nude with guns and drugs and everything else. You can't stop this, Los Angeles. Holy bleeping cow. Transgender woman was sexually assaulted and beaten and pepper sprayed. Channel 5 report.
Horrifying screams coming from inside this longtime small business in the Westlake district. Its owner, 61-year-old Sabrina Della Pena, has owned her convenience store for the last 30 years. For the very first time, she was robbed and attacked by a man she says came in to buy a wallet. She says he began flirting with her and became irate when she asked him to leave.
He pushed me to the floor, and we got a little fight in the floor, and then he was beating me very.
If this is the case, and of course this is just one side of the story, I don't care what you believe or what you live your life on. Beating someone, whatever, over a wallet or whatever, or their sexual orientation or whatever, is completely unacceptable. Gardner was attacked by hate crime in Inglewood. Here we go.
A shocking attack caught on camera in Inglewood. A gardener is beaten and kicked in what police are calling a hate crime. Fox 11's Christina Gonzalez live.
Again, this stuff, and it will be in, as we have seen, as more people filter in from Los Angeles, this stuff will be in the Inland Empire if we don't. This is why it's important to put a stop to it no matter where it's at, because you will have that. People going broke, households in California. ABC 7 report, here we go.
Affect everyone. Working families now among the groups struggling to afford the basic needs.
Food banks are seeing demand increase while seeing support dwindle. New here at 6, Eyewitness News reporter Leticia Juarez takes a look at the latest real cost measure study.
This is basically let's sum it up in the Ditch Bank Okie way. More people in California have too much money at the end of the money. It's because of the policies we've had and the idiots we've elected. Please stop now. 9/11 responders are not getting some of the help they need. Disturbing story coming out of ABC News. Here we go.
An outcry from 9/11 victims who say the program providing the medical care can no longer accept new patients because its director has yet to be reinstated.
And again, we get these people who went through 9/11, the first responders, they should get whatever it takes. Sean Diddy Combs rejects a plea deal ahead of his sex trafficking deal. That's just breaking news of going on. City of Corona police were meeting with students out there. So good job, Corona cops. Navy veteran from Arizona found with bomb-making materials in Chino Motel. Cops say is from the press Enterprise. Also in Chino Hills. 5 arrested in the, let's see, I'm seeing it here. Oh, the sunglass hut, yes, in Chino Hills. We're around there, $30,000 and 100 pairs of sunglasses at 30 grand a piece. How much did these things cost? Wow, no wonder they were stolen. Roller City, 2001, some shots, some scenes from the pictures. Let's get it where you can see them there. Roller City, 24 years ago in River City. Donald J. Trump's said Mike Waltz is moving from National Security Advisor to head of the United Nations, so Elise Stefanik staying in the House of Representatives where she's desperately needed. Good Roller City of that. So that will do it for the report. intro, on with the show. Funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 on the Evil Bean Network, Rumble, X, YouTube, all that good stuff. We'll be joining the Mighty at 1490 AM, as we usually do at the bottom of the hour at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I think the Democrats got trouble in California. They're starting to lose the chicks, which was their base. You saw that in the first one over this, oh, it's not a felony to solicit sex from minors. I think they're a little bit, that's the second one. The Corral was the one that was doing it was upset. Whoever the Asian looking chick was pissed off on the floor of that. Plus all the other stuff we've got going. Dwayne rolled in today from his extended stay from Idaho. On that, lots of local stuff. Did you ever go to Roller City in Riverside?
If I did, it was a long time ago. I went to Cal Skate.
I don't remember going to Roller City.
I probably didn't. I just went by there the other day. It's gone. The building's something else.
Right.
I don't know what it is.
Everything's gone. Everything that was here 25 years ago practically is gone.
Yes.
You don't have to. That's
Cal Skate's still there.
That's almost a given of that. Lots of other stuff. Mike Waltz, as you said, they switched him from, first the reports were coming out, oh, Trump fired Mike Waltz, his national security advisor, over that Signal deal and Pete Hegseth and all that, which was an F up on that. They moved him over to the United Nations, and you know what Trump thinks of the United Nations. Good part of that is Elise Stefanik is staying in the House of Representatives, and we can't lose a critical vote at this particular time of that, where we did lose. Well, we gained it back with the Mike Waltz election, but they got a Republican. That was a big Republican district in there anyway, so that one wasn't as touchy as the Stefanik one. But we need to get out of the United Nations anyway.
I agree.
Of that, all of them. Whatever,
yes, the UN, NATO, yes, all of it.
World Health Organizations,
correct,
all that, whatever they are, dump them all.
The World Economic Fund,
yes,
all of it.
All that.
Get rid of, the United States
National
needs to quit.
Institute of Health.
All of it. We need to quit funding the world. This is what the bullet train fiasco was. It's USAID only for California. They funnel all of this money into this project that they said, oh, it's only going to cost, what was it originally when Jerry Brown, it was like 50 billion, right?
What? No.
The original, the short train that was going to go Fresno.
$30 billion 20 years ago when they proposed this.
Right, 30.
Because it was about 2004 they proposed it. We passed the bond in 2006. They were slated to start construction at 2008. I had Quentin, if you remember, I don't know, you weren't as much into the talk radio as I was back then, but out of KGO, Quentin Kopp used to be on at night, which KGO out of San Francisco, 50,000 watt, would come into, you could usually hear it most of the time from the dark hours. Quentin Kopp was a former senator, state senator. He was on KGO. He was on there 2 or 3 years. And he was the guy that was, after he got out of the Senate, he was the guy Brown appointed him as the czar over the bullet train. And he was a big fan of the bullet train. I mean, he was the main guy pushing all the legislation, the bond and everything. It might have been, I think it was during COVID, but it was about 4 or 5 years ago, actually. I don't know if he's still alive. He's pretty well up there. But I had him on the show. And he says, I'm still for the concept of it, but this is ridiculous what they're doing now. He said it isn't even anything close to what we proposed what we said we were going to do, the costs are going, and that was 5 years ago before all this latest noise started.
This is what I'm saying.
The estimate now, I believe, is over $150 billion to complete it.
Oh, I'm going to say before it's even close to done, it'll be 350 to 400 billion dollars.
I say gazillions. I said a trillion.
It could have
by
been.
the time they figure,
Sure.
by the time they figures, what they got one bridge going over the freeway. What is it? The 189 highway in Hanford, like you're going into the racetrack up there, about 2 miles from where you go to the fairgrounds. That's it. That's all they've done in 20 years. I think they've spent close to $20 billion building like about a third of a mile of bridge.
So it's $1 million a foot.
No,
Pretty close.
I don't think. I think you're low.
It could be, yeah. But still, this goes back to what I was saying. It's their slush fund project to funnel money back into the Democratic Party via donors and contractors and whatever else.
Here you go with these conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
again.
conspiracy's only a conspiracy if it's not true.
How many times has the conspiracy theorist been proved right in the last 5 years? Just let's take the last 5 years. Let's not go back to the time of recorded history. I'm saying it would take COVID, the election fraud.
95%.
I think you're low again. I've said 98.7.
Well, I always give myself a little conservative buffer there.
But no, I mean,
look, these things are obvious.
We had to pass immigration reform, which would legalize what Biden was doing to stop it. No, Trump comes in. I mean, almost the next day it's done. But within a month of Trump coming in, the border has basically been totally shut down from illegal immigration. From 10,000, 20,000, 80,000 a day, who the hell knows?
That's what happens when you actually have leadership that makes decisions based on what outcome you want versus trying to use it as a Ponzi scheme. Everything, California being the crash test dummy for all of these projects, and what they did here in California when they got the supermajority, and look what you have in the state. You know, years ago, we actually had, this was a red state. We elected Ronald Reagan. Problem is, it's since been twisted over. Jerry Brown and his crew got in there, Nancy and all these people, and she got her nephew elected. And now you look at it, this place is a dumpster fire, at best. I was talking to you earlier about the LA mayor, you know, Karen Bass. You talk dumpster fire of all dumpster fires. This woman couldn't find her way out of a paper bag with both ends cut open. She's just intellectually bankrupt. She has no ability to make just the simplest of decisions. You know, everything swings back. Oh, we're looking at this. We're looking. See, she sounds like Jen Psaki or the mop head.
Baghdad Bob.
Baghdad Bobby, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, she sounds like Baghdad Bob.
At least she was competent when they put Miss Alphabet Soup in there. She was totally freaking stupid.
Well, she had to follow the script. If she would sit there and open her binder every day, and if she didn't have a retort for it, she would say, "I'm not going to answer that." Just turn off the podium and go.
No,
away.
I loved it when she tried to ad lib. Holy cow.
Oh yeah, yeah.
More from the ABC7 report in San Fran on the bullet train fiasco, fleecing. Some people, and I like somebody to argue against. More people said this is the biggest boondoggle, con artist, stupid project in the history of politics, political, by any measure. Anybody's done this. Here's more from the report. Here we go.
Plan would commit the state to paying back private investors, possibly with interest, to give the state more time to cover the cost. Chowdhury worked on high-speed rail projects in Europe and believes connecting San Francisco to Los Angeles via the Central Valley is well worth it.
California high-speed rail project is really not about just moving people from point A to B. It's not about having a bunch of business people from San Francisco trying to get to LA for their business meetings. It is connecting communities all the way, and especially Central Valley, which has been ignored from the main arterial.
That's what the stupid thing has been designed to do. No, doofus, it was originally, you fool, it was designed to go from LA to San Francisco. That's what it was designed to do. Then they come up with this stupid plan when they're going through Central California. Do you know why they're laying the tracks in Central California?
Well, originally that property was owned.
No. The original, why they started the tracks, and they said they're building this deal from basically Bakersfield to Merced.
Right.
During the Obama administration, we said, oh, there's too many brown people in there and they're being discriminated against, so we're going to do that. So you know what the route is? You take the regular Amtrak. This is their deal now. This is absolutely stupid. You take the regular Amtrak from San Francisco to Merced. Then you get on the bullet. This is their plan now. Then you get on the bullet train from Merced to Bakersfield. Then you ride a bus from Bakersfield to Los Angeles.
You could get in your car and get here faster.
You could drive here at the frickin' speed limit. Quicker than what they're talking
You're
about.
going to take who in the hell is going to come to LA via a bus for a business meeting? You know, do these people really think people are that stupid and gullible?
Yes.
I mean, sure.
This proves it.
Right. We're going to see. I said a long time ago, if you're going to run a high-speed rail, why don't you go from LA to Vegas and have the hotels pay for it? Because they're the ones that are going to profit off it. And they would probably do it in a heartbeat. The difference is it would work.
They do have one now that's going to go from Rancho. Why is one? This is weird.
Who knows?
They
From
got one
Rancho-
going from Rancho. They're starting from Rancho going on. A private company's actually building one from Rancho all the way up through to Vegas.
Which means it'll get done and finished and actually work because a private company's building it, which is what they should do. They should hold out bids to the private sector and say, give us your best bid, award it to the right contractor, hold their feet to the fire, and say, you will get payments every time you complete a phase, period. And that makes more sense because having lived up in the high desert, on Friday night or Sunday afternoon, you didn't want to get on the road because all the traffic going to Vegas and coming from Vegas.
Highway system for a very long time.
But California's high-speed rail still faces strong opposition. The Trump administration threatened to pull $4 billion in federal funding earlier this year. Republican state lawmakers have opposed the project since its inception and say it is time to stop.
So this project is more expensive than the whole enchilada of our whole state budget. When I say that, it means K through 12, the transportation system, CSU, UC, healthcare, everything we spend in the state is less expensive than this one project. And this has been so mismanaged. My dad always taught me, if you dig a hole for yourself, the best way to get out of that hole is to stop digging.
You have opponents of big programs in other countries while you're trying to build it. But once it's built and done, those people who were critiques are the...
This guy is a complete moron.
Well, he's a salesman.
What was it in Japan in the 60s when they built the first bullet train?
Bullet train.
They did it they had it done in like 2 years. Operational, functional, of all that stuff. Here we are 50 years later with supposedly all this technology and new da-da-da-da-da. And we can't even get it off the ground after $20 billion we got.
Because it's California. You have to fleece everybody for years. Here's one. Going down the 71 connector freeway over the last week for business going back and forth. In the 80s, and I'm talking the very early 80s, when I was first starting to commute out to Orange County, they were working on the 71 highway. I come down it yesterday. They are still working on the 71 highway. Why? Because it's profitable. It's not for convenience. It's not to help ease your commute. It's to line the pockets of certain people that are big donors to a certain party. That's how they get awarded the contracts. This is what's been going on. It's just organized crime at a different level. At least with the Italian mob, you knew up front what they were. They didn't lie to you. They said, "Hey, look, we're in the concrete business. You want to build a bridge?"
What did Cash Patel write the book Government Gangsters?
Correct. He did.
There we
He
go.
did.
People are going broke in California. You can't afford to live here. Here's the ABC LA report. Here we go.
Families now among the groups struggling to afford the basic needs.
Food banks are seeing demand increase while seeing support dwindle. New here at 6, Eyewitness News reporter Leticia Juarez takes a look at the latest real cost measure study.
If you really want to know how the economy's doing, check your local food bank. At Feeding America, food insecurity is on the rise.
The biggest challenge that we've seen is less support, less donations coming in, and less attention and awareness on what's actually occurring. So the need is high as ever.
The latest real cost measure from the United Ways of California lays out just how widespread the struggle is. 35% of California households, or more than 3.8 million, can't cover basic needs. This isn't just about the poverty line. The study looks at working households across all 58 counties, factoring in the real cost of housing, childcare, transportation, healthcare, and taxes.
If families get hit with anything, their car breaks down or a medical emergency or rent increases, it really can tip them into homelessness.
For example, this map shows the number of households by county struggling to meet their basic needs, while this one shows how much income a typical family of 4 needs to stay afloat.
Even in the Inland Empire, which is absolutely crazy, $100,000 a year for a family just to meet the basic, not no luxuries, not going to Disneyland at $100 a pop.
No, it's just to meet their bill load.
Yeah, just to try to put food, gas in the car, pay the rent or mortgage, the basic necessity, energy, electricity.
35 years ago, California was a great place to live, and we had a very high standard of living. And now, driving around, I've seen more homeless than I did the last time I was here.
Yes. It's incredible.
It's an epidemic.
How can you afford? You know what?
Can't. I get it.
What do you in 111 cities? There's little over 400 cities in California. About a quarter of them in 113 cities, the top 113. What do you think the average price of a starter home is in those areas? Just take a guess quickly.
$325.
$1 million freaking dollars.
You know, and how are you going to do that when you're making $100,000 a year? You cannot afford a $6,000 a month house payment. No way. You physically cannot pay for that.
25% of the cities, which is probably about close to 50% of the population, because that takes in your LAs, San Francisco, San Diego's, your big population areas where most of the people are. $1 million is what not an average home, a starter home costs.
Look, I live in a state where a lot of Californians have come up and they cash in their $2 million homes, and they come up and they overpay for houses because they've got to shed this money. They come up and buy a hangar for 5 times what it's worth because they've got to get rid of the money. And they don't care. They're swimming in money. They come up where I live.
Which is why you should be paying attention, even if you're in Idaho or Kansas City or wherever. Because this stuff is coming your way if we don't stop it here. More from the report.
But in Yvonne Sonato Vegas's case, it's a family of 7. She and her husband are struggling to provide for.
But even with 2 incomes, living in California is so expensive. I think
I could not imagine
7 people.
Yeah, mom and dad and 5 kids.
You don't go anywhere. There's no movie night.
She would have to make. They would have to make $200,000 a year.
And who's going to take care of the kids? You going to leave them with some monsters at a daycare center so that they can get molested? There's no way. You can't do that. No, this California has become the impossible dream because you got to be asleep to believe this stuff. There's no way. You have to reverse this. This ship is tilting. It's about to capsize, and when it does, I mean, most of us from other states are sitting there going, you got to kill it to fix it. You have to crash it to fix it because it's too far gone. If you fix it, then what you get is the lefties will sit there and go, see, we did fix it. It was our policies that did this. No, it's not.
Gonna roll through one of the local reports for today. As we say,
local.
More rocking and rolling on the IE News report. Pomona Police Department arrested a man who was throwing rocks to Metrolink in that he was wanted on charges of other warrants too. How shocking is all of this? Why does the word vagrant pop into my head? Oh man. Ukaipa, you can get pet vaccines on that. Check them out there at the vaccine clinic every second Tuesday of the month, which will be coming up soon. So if you need your pets vaccinated, check them out, see if you're eligible on that. Everybody's looking for keeping their pets healthy. One of the things that gives you hope, this is a Paris neighbor. Hello, your package was delivered to the wrong address. Just wanted to drop it off. So that's another good thing. Good neighbor in Paris. It's next on the local genre of that. Porch Pirate. Always love when the
video
freezes. Yes, on the, I don't know why it's not.
The feed is frozen.
Yeah, my local report's going to hell.
Well,
see if it'll.
Better scrub that one and move on.
Yes, we'll see if we get that. That was some of the. How about the vagrant throwing rocks? I'm sure he's a vagrant. He's wandered multiple times, throwing rocks at the metro train. Again, with these whole train things, LA, nobody rides that.
No, it's absolutely
You are taking your life in your hands.
Yes. Have you ever ridden the metro?
No, I refuse.
You should have. Years ago, I did. Years ago, just for something to do. I thought, okay, it's clean and shiny and new. I'll get on it now before they destroy it. Now I'm with you. I wouldn't do it. But you should have ridden it when it was new. It was actually a pleasant trip. It really was. People were nice and friendly, and it was a good time.
But you get, it's like, how in the hell?
You're not lighting up.
Port Pomona Police Department. See if this works. Let me know. Now, we don't encourage vigilanteism, but report it to the police. Riverside County District Attorney's Office is warning about the dangers of lives lost to fentanyl poisoning. Very, very drastic issue on that. That's Brandon Smith, who gave a presentation about that, of the dangers of fentanyl poisoning in Riverside County. Murrieta Police Department is on the scene assisting agencies in a vehicle pursuit that ended in the good city of Murrieta. So pursuits abound. We're in one of those deals. Man arrested for more than 1,300 images of child sexual abuse. Riverside police arrested 30-year-old Redlands resident Wednesday afternoon, April 30th. Dems Omar Montoya was arrested at his residence in Redlands on Colton Avenue after detectives, through a cyber tip investigation, discovered that he had all the images of child sexual abuse, something that is almost unconscionable. Or how can you even know what it takes for people even look at that, much less have it. UC Riverside's Gateway Cafe closes after nearly 3 decades. That was in the patch. So, what's up next? Laura Martin, great contributor, volunteer, all-around good chick out here in Riverside County. Riverside Mayor Patty D has been selected to the CAR board, California Air Resources Board. The board that voted to raise your gas taxes 65 cents. Mind you, Supervisor Victor Manuel Perez from Riverside County is on that board and voted in the affirmative to do that. Not much confidence Patty D, Patricia Locke Dawson would do any different. Indio police released new details of shootings that injured 3, including a woman and her 5-year-old son. 2 men have been arrested. Don't you just, how come it just seems like in most, at least 50% of these cases, they have these very lovely tattoos on them? Up next, we have city employees in Banning cleaning up, most likely after the vagrants. You see, that's a good job, city employees of Banning. Arrest was made after a woman in Riverside County or Coachella stole an ambulance, they say. And that should do it for the local report. Be right back. There we are. We're right back.
That's not like borrowing a school.
How do you get? That's the second ambulance that's been stolen around here in SoCal.
What are you going to do with it?
That's what. Again, that's.
You know, they got big numbers on the roof.
Yes, I mean, it's not like they can't identify this particular vehicle.
Yeah, they got a big name on the side.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of the people, there are some dumb freaking criminals out here.
I still have one for sale. If anybody down here wants one, I
don't,
had one for my business.
I would
that
say the
outfitted.
person who probably stole that probably couldn't afford.
Well, certainly not now with the fines and whatnot. They're hopefully will have to pay.
You know, there's just been some in the last month. It's like the car chase scenes and the violent ones. I mean, they killed a dude out on the freeway shootout, and then we had the one, I think, weren't you here where they busted the window?
Yes.
I mean, the guy rammed and they busted the window through, which we've got to swing that pendulum back because the stuff is just getting flat too crazy. You know, there's at some point now, and again, like the tranny dude or whatever he is, you shouldn't be, if that was the case, you shouldn't be attacking people just because of what they are. But we have allowed that in society so much, people think they can get away. They can think, oh, well, I'm just going to take off in the ambulance.
Why? So ask yourself a very simple question. Why is it that when you go to other states that have, as in my state, the ability to carry a firearm and defend yourself without anybody's permission, and we used to have that here, and then it got broken up and battered and moved away. Now, what was a direct result of that? You had an increase in not just crime, but violent crime. Now you have people being assaulted because on strong arm robberies and things because they know nothing's going to happen to them. Not only do they know they're not going to get shot, they know that they're not going to get thrown in jail. They're going to get arrested. They're going to get a time to appear, and if they don't show up, nobody's coming after them. You know, and they know that because they've said, well, you know, it's the jails are too crowded. We can't put people in them. So we're not looking to round up any criminals. Now, if you're on the exceptionally dumb side and you get caught again hauling dope or trafficking people or whatever these idiots do, then yeah, you might get a second or third or fourth, or in LA's case, 10th look at before they do anything to you. And even then, it may not happen. How many times have they let multiple people that were convicted multiple times of rape and assault, and they go, well, we don't have any room in the jail?
That's 100%. There's two things. And again, if you don't think how quick this can go, 5 years ago, we were the most, in our state prison system, 82,500. We were 25%, I think Illinois was second. We were 25% higher than them. We were 2.5 times or 250% higher. The average was like 30 grand. We are now at we were at 165, and then they're dumping. We're now below 100,000. We are spending more.
Well, of course.
With 2/3 less prisoners, we're up to $165,000.
Well, when you took
per prisoner in California.
When you took privatization of the prisons out, what do you think's going to happen? You're no longer getting efficiency. You're getting the guard employees union telling you how much you're going to pay them and how much time they get off, and all of the repercussions from those kind of decisions. This is the problem when government micromanages every facet of everything you do. They take longer, they do it in less efficiently, and they use more money to do less.
This is why Franklin Delano Roosevelt in the 30s and 40s, and the first president, George Meany of the AFL-CIO, the head of the unions, all the private sector unions at the time, said, do not let public employees organize. It's cops, teachers, and firefighters. If you want, and it's not unions. Please do not say it's a teachers union. Do not say it's a cop union. Do not say it's a firefighters union. They fund it. They just represent, the union represents them. Unions cannot talk. They cannot do anything. It's your teacher. It's your cop in your city. It's your firefighter that's been funding that. $400 million they have dumped in political contributions in the last 20 years, far exceeding any evil rich white boy, hillbilly, whatever you want to call us, guy that you want to call Elon Musk or whomever. On down, you can take all the money they had, it dwarfs what they've done. Remember SB 400? Remember the pension deal in 1999? That was the prison guards that pushed that. And they do it on public safety. This whole thing is you're not going to
use a crutch.
Yes.
They always use a crutch, and they always appeal to, well, if you don't do this, there's people going to be wandering the streets. Well, you've already got that, and you paid for it. So
yeah, you got more crime in the streets. We've given them more money, more crime. The average teacher prorated on a full year's compensation is $180,000 per year. They don't have a problem meeting the medium income deal anywhere. They're not starving to death. They're not cops, firefighters. You mentioned LA. What'd they do with the fire chief or the head of the union?
I didn't hear that.
600 grand a year.
How does the head of the fire union make more than the president of the United States? Does anybody realize that the president of the United States is the top CEO? Okay, he's it. He's the top CEO of the world. We are still the most powerful country on a long shot. Economically, productivity-wise, not population-wise, but we are 6% of the world's population, and we hold 25% of the wealth. Let that number sink in a little bit. So why is it that these people that are in public employee unions, which are largely funded by the rank and file members, by
they're so making so much freaking money. They average twice over the private sector worker in California. They average twice as much compensation per year. For every dollar, if you're in the private sector, for every dollar you make, public employees are making $2. It wasn't that long ago when this was almost the reverse.
It was. When I was young, in first starting out in my career trying to find a job and whatnot, you didn't really want to work for the county or the city or the state because it didn't pay that well. You could make a lot more
It was a
more
steady
money.
job.
That's what it
You
was.
could- you
You
could-
had a great retirement.
Yeah,
That's what
you could have, you could raise a family and have a car and a house.
Sure.
You knew you weren't going to live an extravagant life.
You weren't going to get fired.
That has all changed. And again, any teacher, cop, firefighter wants to come in because first thing I'm going to bring up, and I'm going to give you a heads up. Study Assemblyman Dick Barnes in 1972 from down in San Diego. If you want, and again, come in and prove me wrong. I'm not anti-cop, not firefighter. We need them. We even need teachers, but we need a whole different education
I will
system.
tell you, got a friend that's a teacher. He's not in the union. He's a welding teacher. And so he's not part of the rank and file that gets to vote. Even though they pull money out of his check for it, he's not a member of the teachers.
It's
there's a lot of those.
Yes, you got the Janus decision.
30 seconds.
You do not have to. Your money does not have to go to political contributions. Check it out. So there is no excuses anymore. As Jesse said, we are going to be joining the Mighty Met KMET 1490 here in a few seconds. We'll be back with that and continue on with Dwayne from Idaho and much more.
5 seconds. Here we go.
Day. IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
Following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire and the aforementioned AM band, joining a vast video audience and Evil FB Network, Rumble, X, YouTube, all that good stuff going on. Man, oh man, a lot of stuff. We're getting hosts now on the bullet train. After they went through all the bond money, this and that, they get off the feds. Now they're going to private equity firms. We're going to borrow more money and pay interest on top of interest. We are absolutely stupid. And the only reason, and if you don't think, like all the other stuff we've said, and I've said many times, don't let the cancer of California spread across the other 49 states. As you're watching today, if you don't solve this stuff over here, and we just went through it, a third of the people in California can't even meet basic necessities. And they're not vagrants. They have a job. They're trying to make it. Both families, both mom and dad are working, trying to do it. They can't do it. In the top quarter, we have about 400 cities, 113 cities, a starter home in the top 113 cities, not a median price, starter home is over $1 million. On top of the energy costs and everything else and food costs and everything else, if we don't stop this is what Trump's talking about with the tariffs and everything else. If we don't stop this, we will ruin every darn thing. It's absolutely crazy, incredulous. Democrats, we had Krell who put the bill on that said, hey, she's a Democrat, just got elected, former prosecutor, said, why isn't it that those who solicit 16 and 17-year-olds on the street are not felons? She put a bill out. Scott Wiener and the crew had a hissy fit about it last year and didn't get it in. It just went to 15-year-olds. She came back and said, what the hell's going on? Put the bill up, and they tried blocking it again. Now more Democrats, we had the lady on there and said, this is freaking insane. What in the hell is the matter with you people? That's what possibly, you're seeing the seeds of turning the corner, not only nationally, but in the once golden state of California, of that. We're going to have and this is why this is going to be important. We're going to deal with this here in this segment. We got to pay the hell attention, not only to the governor's race, but all the down ballot races. But everybody's going to focus on the governor's race. We know Chad Bianco from the center right and Steve Hilton are the two that have announced. There's a whole Katie Porter, all of them, Tony Atkins, Tony Thurmond, a whole bunch of Democrats are jumping in. They're all waiting for Kamala to make her decision. She made her first public appearance since being defeated. Thank our lucky stars.
No.
Did we dodge a bullet as bad
No,
as
you dodged an atomic weapon.
as bad as Joe Biden was? And I said it while he was in there, and I was saying, you better be praying that the dude doesn't keel over. Because if Kamala takes in, you're going to be begging. You're going to be digging Joe's bones out of the grave coming back. Here is Kamala Harris.
Oh, must we?
On her first public appearance after her resounding defeat by the great Donald J. Trump.
Video from a couple of weeks ago, the one of the elephants at the San Diego Zoo during the earthquake. Google it if you've not seen it. So that scene has been on my mind. Everybody's asking me what you've been thinking about these days. Well,
back to the cackling.
So in the video, for those who haven't seen it, here those elephants were. And as soon as they felt...
I've said this, she reminds me in her demeanor, her presentation, she reminds me of how a 6-year-old girl would talk. Do you pick that up?
That's an insult to most 6-year-old girls. It really is. I've seen
3?
Even questionable at
No,
that.
but isn't she talks like she's a little girl? That's how you would think if you ask a little girl about elephants or something or politics, they would roll this. They would come up now with a 6-year-old girl. You'd say, well, that's very cute. This is what was a heartbeat away and was almost close to being president of the frickin' United States.
I dislike her immensely. However, I think that her demeanor is based on a very large insecurity that she has, based on her lack of ability to... First off, she's not a very intelligent person. Secondly, she's not a good governor. She cannot, and I don't mean that she would be governor. I'm saying she's not somebody that should be holding the reins of power. We saw her as vice president make some of the silliest speeches I've ever heard any human being make.
Exactly. I mean, they're incoherent for an adult. For a 6-year-old girl, that would be cutesy, okay. For a 60-year-old woman who's been a district attorney of San Francisco, attorney general of California, U.S. senator from California, and vice president of the United States, to be talking.
Hey, at least she's no longer in the Senate.
This.
The earth shaking beneath their feet. They got in a circle and stood next to each other to protect the most vulnerable. Think about it. What a powerful metaphor. Because we know those who try to incite fear are most effective when they divide and conquer, when they separate the herd.
Do you realize that they always tell you how they operate? What she just told you is specifically what the Democrats do. They come out and divide all of us and say, these people on the right are evil because they want to hurt people and take things away. When it's the exact opposite, look at Donald Trump's first 100 days. What has he done? Sealed the border, given you better security. Yes, he's put in tariffs. Yeah, there's going to be a little pain before the body gets better, but you know what? We're going to come out of this on the other side with better 401ks and more spending cash in our pockets, and you might actually see the interest rates on homes come down. They've already said they're going to drop the interest rate. How much, they don't know yet, but the Fed already stated it's coming down.
Let's clear cut the forest so the price of $8
I know.
for a 2x4
Used to be
stud.
99 cents.
Yes, I remember you going
99
there for
Ole's
years.
79 cents. Anybody remember Ole's?
Yeah,
or
I
Angels?
remember, and it wasn't too long ago.
Sunny B Lumber?
Yeah, it wasn't too long. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, a 2x4 stud in
99
your
cents.
wall, 99 cents. You could walk into Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever, like you say, Riverside Lumber, whatever. They were 99 cents a piece. If you wanted 1 or 10, if you wanted more, obviously you could get them cheaper, more from the ding dong.
When they try to make everyone think they are alone. But in the face of crisis, the lesson is don't scatter.
Here we go again with the victimology.
I saw that video.
It's just Bravo Sierra, okay? Can we just not call it what it is? They always do this. They still are running the same game plan that they always have. Nothing has changed with these people, yet they're not figuring out their numbers are in the toilet. You look at their approval ratings right now, even James Carville, of all people, is saying, y'all better get your head out of your end because this is not working. You've got no message. Saying Trump bad, evil, red man evil is no longer a thing. Because what's happened is they've lost the young people. The young people looked at him last time and said, oh yeah, we're going to vote for Joe. Okay, they stole an election. And now the young people have come out and said, whoa, wait a minute. This Joe guy and his policies and this ding dong, she's scary. We don't want her in charge of a picnic, let alone a governmental agency. And that's what they're starting. They don't get it though.
Even more important, like we ran the first clip of that lady. If they start losing the liberal women of California, especially, even of all the stuff they're doing in that is their core hardened supporter base that supported all the nuts in California and Kamala Harris.
The
and all
18 to
that.
34 women.
No, 18 to looking at the roots of the grass. Here's the great Stephen Miller, Deputy Chief of Staff for Donald J. Trump on Comrade Kamala.
Thank you. Last night, Kamala Harris delivered her first major speech after losing the election. She attacked Trump personally, attacked the policies. Any comment from the White House on that?
Well, I think it was a great reminder to the American people of just how blessed we all are that the leader sitting in the Oval Office today is President Donald Trump and not President Kamala Harris. It was a helpful reminder of just what a travesty and a tragedy that would have been. It would have been the end of America. And it gives me a chance to bring this whole thing home. If we continued on this road of radical regulation, choking off American energy, sending our supply chains to foreign countries, taxing our economy to death, pushing this cancerous woke ideology on our children, ending merit, ending scientific innovation, ending public safety, allowing, everyone goes to the stores these days, everything's locked up, criminals roam free, law-abiding citizens under the previous administration were punished while gangbangers were given red carpet treatment. Democrats, of course, are still giving gangbangers red carpet treatment. And then the border invasion. If those policies had continued, it would have been the end of the American Republic. And the only thing Americans...
Stephen Miller is exactly right. I want to go back because you will probably, do you remember 30 years ago? You probably don't remember, but you heard of Stephen Miller.
Sure.
What was it? Okay, I'm going to refresh your memory.
Please do.
He was 16 years old in 1996 going to Santa Monica High School. He's from Santa Monica.
Right.
He called into Larry Elder and George Putnam on their radio shows, which one was at noon, one was at 3 o'clock on different stations. And he said, He was the one that exposed they're not doing the Pledge of Allegiance at Santa Monica High.
Okay, I do remember that.
Yes,
I do
remember him
that.
calling into the shows.
It was a big.
Yes,
deal.
he started that whole
big deal.
That was Stephen Miller. He's a Southern Santa Monica, now one of the most liberal bastions of that. But I knew you would remember it from that because you used to listen like I did back in the day to those. But this is my contention on the doofus, Comrade Kamala. And this is my contention. And like I've been telling people, I've been encouraging people, we've got to have Kamala run for California governor. Either way, if you're going to get a Chad Bianco or a Steve Hilton or somebody from the center right to do just like Donald J., she's the most beatable candidate. All you got to do is just see her latest rendition yesterday to go back to 2004. Actually, she wasn't too bad when she was under Willie Brown's tutelage. Once she got to be Attorney General in 2010, forget it. She's a ding dong, but Willie Brown at least had her a little bit under control.
He coached her.
But my contention is either way, and I mean you're taking a risk. She might be governor. But we've got two choices in 26. We're either going to burn it to the ground or we're going to start fixing it. So who better to burn it to the ground? Who will burn it faster than Kamala?
True. That's true.
And the faster you get it done, the sooner you can start the rebuilding process. And if we do get somebody from the center right on that, maybe not only can we save the once golden state, that will make it much easier going forward for the last 2 years of the Trump administration and hopefully J.D. Vance or whoever picks it up.
I think your biggest concern in California is the voter fraud. Unless somehow they get this pushed through on the federal elections, because they can't tell the states what to do. So you could still, even with the federal election, still get her nominated and have her win the governor's seat, the gubernatorial race. I think, however, if you can break the chain of the voter fraud and get rid of go back to paper ballots, get rid of the electronic voting machines, you might stand a chance. But look, there's been fraud in this state for 40 years, in my opinion, and they always get the people elected that they want. And now who's in control is the loony bin left of the Nancy Pelosi's. You know who she is. She's like one of the squad. She's like AOC and Rashida Tlaib and all those other activist Democrats that never held a job. I mean, AOC was a bartender. I can only think she must have been the world's worst bartender.
I think she does have the gift of gab, and I bet she was probably pretty good at it.
I don't think she could mix a Manhattan to save her ass.
Well, I don't. She's not stupid. She might.
I disagree.
No, she's not.
She's not.
You can't get to where she's at by being stupid.
She's shrewd, and she takes advantage of opportunities. But as an intellectual powerhouse, no.
But maybe she's not 187 IQ, but she's not stupid.
I don't even think she's 110. I really will. I'm going to disagree with you on her. She's shrewd and she's there because she's a placeholder. They put her in there. Nancy doesn't like her. I don't know how she's maintaining
that's because
her.
she's a threat.
Yeah, I don't know how much
I'm telling you, that's why they don't. The reason Nancy doesn't like her is because she sees AOC as a threat to her little empire
party
before she does. That's why she is. No, AOC's not dumb. I mean, I'm not saying she's an intellectual powerhouse by any means.
I think you like her.
But
I think you secretly like her.
Maybe. I don't. She's a fruitcake, I will tell you that. I mean, I disagree. There are, though, some policies she's actually voted the way I would have. She's not 100% stupid.
Hey, look,
either.
John Fetterman has surprised me. I never liked the guy. I thought he got sick, he had a stroke. I'm thinking, come on, it's just common decency. You don't run if you've had a stroke. You've got to take care of your own business. He recovered, he's lucid, And the guy is starting to make sense. I predict within a year or two, he's going to part ways with the Democratic Party and at least be an independent.
More on the local news front. Here we go. Now more for the local IE Newswire report. St. Francis de Sales Catholic Church in Riverside is set to close. That's been there ever since I can freaking remember. And that's been an extremely long time. We grew up in California in the 60s. Look at that little photo in 1963 in Riverside on Monroe Street. Man, call me old, but we need to get back to a day like that. Rancho Mirage teacher arrested, accused of molesting a teen over a 2-year period. That's from KESQ. History of Corona. This is Big Diamond Mind on that. Most people probably have never known its around or its history. Much about that on the history of Corona. Check it out. Coachella Valley. They are turning. See the Red Sea or that anyway. My equipment seems to be failing. It gets to the same point and then it stops today.
It's like a tape.
Yes, it's got.
Well, what it is, it's got a corrupt file.
Could be.
That's what it is. And it's hitting the corruption, so you got to move past it.
It still wasn't. I don't know.
Well, we'll have to paraphrase. This is what you generally call in radio filler time.
Yes. No, it was part of that. Is it both of them? I had 2 reports done, and they stopped at exactly the same
I
spot.
gotta like the picture of the kids on the bike.
Yes, I knew you'd love that.
How cool was that?
1960. Well, you weren't around in 19. I was barely around in 63. You weren't.
I was
that.
almost.
But we used to go when we were kids. We used to go up and down there all the freaking time. We would have been like
Right in
that
the middle of
picture
that.
would of us would have been like a late 60s, early 70s on Monroe
Correct.
Street. Exactly like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
1000%.
Yep. We had a before Riverside blew up and became inhabitable. It just blows my mind how dense the population is.
Well, even so, kids got to start being kids again.
You don't
You
let
don't
'em.
see you. I hardly ever see a kid riding a bike. You go out in front. They walk. If they do, if their parents do let them go from if they're probably escorting them. I don't. Do they even have a bike rack at the schools anymore? You never see a kid ride a bike from school. I rode a bike to school. Well, first 3 years I was across the street. After starting in the 3rd grade, I rode a bike to school from
all the way through
the
junior
3rd
high.
grade till I was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah, all the way through junior high school.
Yes.
Or not junior high school, but all the way through junior high. I did. And then I had other options.
Again, kids.
Well, look what they've done.
The whole helicopter parent thing.
Yes.
And I get it. I mean, society, we got to get to
We have a sick society.
We got to get to a safer society.
Yes.
Where you're not worried about, you don't have to keep your kids in a frickin' jail cell. And that's what worries me about, and I think a lot of the society stuff we have is, and I don't blame the kids a lot. This is the environment they went up there. They would have been afraid, or they would have got it to have 4 kids on a bicycle like that sitting out in Monroe Street today. I bet you could put a 24/7, 365 camera on Monroe Street in Riverside, and you would be lucky if you saw one kid riding a bike.
We did outdoor pickup games. We would do basketball, baseball,
In the
football. Yeah, in the street. Well, we had like church parking lots. We would
Sure.
go play in. You remember the one down from my house? We had the church parking lot right behind, just like right around the corner. And then the basketball courts were
Sure.
just right up there on Magnolia. It wasn't that far. And we all went up there.
And there was no fences around. You could go.
No.
You talk about midnight basketball. You could have rolled it there at 1 o'clock in the morning and shot baskets. It's been a little dark, but I mean, there were no hardly any fences around any of this stuff. The schools, you could walk on the school campuses at 2 o'clock in the morning.
There were no.
You could go
fences.
play in the fields at our schools,
Yes.
shoot baskets, whatever, play volleyball, whatever, hang out.
They
Now
because
they're
of the-
12-foot high razor wire in prison camps.
Well, because you can't allow it. The population density is such that if only 2% of the population deals drugs and crime, by definition, when you quadruple the population, you're going to have quadruple the crime. And those are places that if you don't protect them are going to be magnets for that. Like Fairmount Park, I don't understand how it even survives to this day, how it's not all fenced in, but it isn't.
Don't say that too loud.
I wouldn't let my kid go down there. You and I used to go down there, remember? When we were kids. Go ride the little boats around the lake and stuff. I mean, you know, that kind of stuff. There's no boats on the lake anymore, I don't think, and it's long gone. But I did hear a few years ago they were trying to revive the carnival thing there with some kids' rides and things that they had years ago, and that would be good. But look what they did to the Boy Scouts, Roy. They destroyed them. This is what we used to have, things like that. You had Little League.
As you know, I've been talking about cut you off on the commercial.
doing something.
These big box stores stayed open while the little guys closed. Will our voices be heard? Does voting with our dollars work? PatriotSwitch.com gives patriots the power to walk away from the big box stores forever. Stop supporting the enemies of freedom now. That's why PatriotSwitch.com was created. For those who support America, PatriotSwitch.com. Is your car doing the hucklebuck and afraid you will be stuck? Well, head on down to Toyota of San Bernardino, Nissan of San Bernardino, Subaru of San Bernardino, and the San Bernardino Auto Mall, and catch a Camry, look ravishing in a Rogue, or be styling in a Subaru. Don't forget I-10 Toyota in Indio for those of you in the lower desert. You deserve to be the happiest human on the planet. So head on down to one of these 4 great dealerships for the car of your dreams. Spread the word. IE Newswire is now on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 p.m. on Rumble and KMET 1490 AM, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Join all the cool kids who want an eclectic look at the news without all the filters of the evil scoundrels of social media and the despicable dorks of the dominant press. Don't bumble and stumble. Subscribe to IE Newswire on Rumble and roll with the best hillbilly hoedown around. That's it. If you want to buy American, go to PatriotSwitch.com. If you need a new Toyota or Subaru, go to one of Cliff Cummings' great dealerships at San Bernardino Auto Mall at D10, 215 freeways. Don't forget I-10 Toyota down in the lower desert. Man, oh man, it does seem like, although the news is slowing down a bit, it was in a frenzy there for a while, especially with Trump and all that. He's not doing 3 or 4 appearances a day. It's usually just 1. But again, by far, biggest, most transparent president we've ever had times 20 million, especially Trump 2.0. Like I said, there hasn't been a Monday through Friday since he's been in there. He hasn't at least made 1 public appearance and answered reporters' questions. Unprecedented by far in the history. I defy you to run anyone, unless there was some sort of war going on, that had that in any president since the television era. Never, or even before. Never happened. You might hate Trump, but if everybody that screams transparency or democracy, he provides it like nobody's business. That's it for today on this Practice Friday. We usually say at this time, mandatory, you're back here in 23 hours. Why? For the best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya.
All right, you two have a great day.
You got it. See ya.
Bye.